Okay, Marco. Okay.
Ron, welcome. Thank you very much for spending your time here with me today. Really appreciate it. It's an honor
My pleasure.
to look a legend in the eye. What I'd like to discuss with you today is the TGA, the True Green Alliance.
Yes.
When did you start this? How did you get the idea to start? What prompted you to start it?
Well, I grew up, I've spent about 30 years in the wildlife management profession in various national parks departments, starting in the Rhodesian Department of National Parks and Wildlife Management, and then down in South Africa. And I have worked with some of the top ecologists and the top wildlife managers in the southern African hemisphere, and I understand what wildlife management is all about. Today everyone talks about conservation or nature conservation or some different words have different meanings, and they're losing touch with what it's all about. There's actually...
So, let me just interrupt you quickly. You're talking about different words of explaining this, but in your point of view, what exactly is conservation? Or wildlife conservation for that matter? How would you describe that?
Another way of describing it would be to call it wildlife management. And wildlife management is easy to explain. It's the action that man takes to achieve a man-desired objective. For example, Kruger National Park's main objective, its national objective, is to maintain species diversity. That is, species diversity of plants and of animals, and birds and fishes and everything.
Okay.
Nothing is more important than maintaining species diversity in Kruger National Park. And you'll speak to a lot of people in South Africa, and this worries me. A lot of them in South Africa think that Kruger National Park is there for tourism, to attract tourists to come to the country. It's not at all. It's there to look after the South Africans' wildlife heritage, and that is in its species diversity. And as a consequence of that, people ask me, what do you do, like you have just done? And I tell them that our purpose is to create an informed South African public where people understand the principles and practices of wildlife management and the sustainable utilization of our natural resources for the benefit of mankind. Nothing is done just for nature, it is done for mankind, for the South African.
Yes, yes.
And I formed the True Green Alliance with the purpose of trying to create a better informed public in South Africa. If we can't get the public to support us in this and to get them to understand why we advocate certain things, we're never going to get to the bottom of it. For example, during the culling period, which is between 1957 and 1994, South Africa, according to the scientists in Skukuza, they claim that the elephants had destroyed more than 95% of all the top canopy trees in the park. Now, to give you some idea how this impinges upon other species, your martial eagles and your vultures and a lot of these other big birds, your brown hornbills, they look to big and ancient trees as platforms for their nests. And if they didn't have those big tall trees or hollow trees, in the case of brown hornbills, these birds would not breed, and if they don't breed, they will become extinct. And the martial eagle is one of the birds that I believe is already on the slippery slope to extinction. Now, people don't like the idea of population reduction with elephant. And I seem to have got the reputation of always whenever elephant crops up, I say, well, we have to reduce the numbers. Well, I would like to say to South Africans, to all of them, if you have got, as I understand the situation to be in Kruger at the moment, if you have got 34,000 elephants in the national park, and the carrying capacity, the sustainable carrying capacity is only 3,500, what are you going to do with the excess above 3,500?
Your plan of reseeding, that'll be a TGA project, no? Am I correct?
Not true. No, we don't know what kind of project it's going to be, because the responsibility for doing what you are intimating, that is reseeding the woodlands, we and external organizations like the True Green Alliance cannot usurp the responsibilities of sandparks, and they will probably take, if having lived and worked in national parks for 25, 30 years, I know for a fact that if you are in an organization running a national park, you don't want outsiders coming in telling you what to do.
Exactly.
The scientists in Kruger, they've got some very top quality scientists. I don't always agree with what their opinions are or what their ideas are, but they're no fools, and they have yet to come up with solutions for what has happened. Now what has happened is that between 1960 and 1994 was when the culling stopped in Kruger. Kruger National Park lost more than 95% of its top canopy trees. These are the very big trees in Kruger. And these aren't my figures, these are figures that come from the sandpark scientists. Now, if martial eagles and vultures don't have big trees where they can build their nests, they're not going to carry on breeding. That means you're going to lose your vultures, you're going to lose your martial eagle, and therefore you are not going to fulfill your mandate. Sandparks have a mandate from the South African Parliament to look after the wildlife heritage of Kruger National Park, and in the simple dimension of saying that they have to maintain species diversity. If they can maintain species diversity, they won't be losing species. But I don't see how they can manage it without reseeding. I mean, the big area in the Satara region, for example, which was selected for experimentation and testing what the elephants were doing to the trees, that Satara area was representative of the woodlands throughout Kruger National Park. And yet by 1994 there wasn't a single top canopy tree standing in any of the set-aside plots there. Sandparks didn't try and hide it. They did tell us openly that this was the case. 95% of the top canopy trees had been killed by too many elephants. And they used the term too many elephants in those days. Then there were different arguments were put forward by different people. And then 15, 20 years later, sandparks were asked how many trees did the elephants destroy since 1960. And they now say, they don't tell you how many trees there are because they haven't counted them. But what they say is more than 95% of the trees have gone.
Back to the TGA, you say the TGA, your main goal is to inform the public.
Yes.
Keep the public informed of exactly what is going on. So the TGA is not the enemy. We are all basically on the same side. We all want the same thing, the same dream. We want to solve problems, whatever the problem in our nature is, for our own sustainability. Is there an easy way, or in what way do you reach out to the public?
Well, 2 years ago, the organizations that promoted hunting and in the country, they got together with the TGA and they formed a new organization called the Sustainable Use Coalition, where they have got all the hunter associations. These are the people who are harvesting game. And people who don't like the idea of hunting must understand that hunting is probably the only feasible way of harvesting wildlife. So it is crucial to the success of an organization like the Sustainable Use Organization. They said to us at the time that they wanted to form a brand new organization of sustainable use, and to leave they purposely wanted the TGA not to become a part of the Sustainable Use Coalition, because they said the TGA has a different role to play, and we do have a different role to play. But a lot of what the Sustainable Use Coalition is actually doing, and they're making a very, very good job of it. I don't think that the TGA could have made a better job of it than SACO have done for their organization. What we envisaged for the future when we started the TGA was that it would become an organization like SACO.
Okay.
So SACO virtually stole our thunder, as it were, in doing this. Look, I'm not getting at SACO. SACO have done a brilliant job, an absolute brilliant job, better than I believe, better than we could have done ourselves. But nevertheless, if you ask me what was our vision for the future, that was our vision for the future, to get people to understand that we can utilize our natural resources on a sustainable basis for the benefit of South African man. And SACO have now stepped into the scene with bigger groups of organization, bigger people with more money involved in the whole thing, and with an awful lot of enthusiasm. Now, all we can do now is to sit back and support SACO and just to see what we can do to help them to achieve even greater success, because that is what we would like to have seen for ourselves.
Yeah. Right. Thank you very much for your time, and anybody who'd like to contact Ron personally, I'm sure you won't mind. You'll find his email address, contact numbers, and the web address for TGA in the description. And please see you on the next one.